Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back over on the YouTube account, and it is 2025, meaning this is the very first live stream in the new year. And of course, to celebrate, we did drop out and kill the Devourer's Ascent. So this boss is actually dead in its entirety. So we cleansed the altar. This was kind of the new year event that kind of ran over from last year. But overall, this boss is dead in its entirety across all servers, which is pretty cool. Now, we also did have, of course, the big announcement on January 1st, with the crossover, looking at Overlord and looking at Shalltear, Ainz and Albedo, and overall, it seems like Shalltear is the hero to really build without a hero. So we got Tommy in here. Nizolo Gaming is here, and I think I'm saying it right now. And Global is here. Has anyone found a use for Shalltear in the Nightmare Corridor? As of right now, no. What is going on? Soul and Papa is here. When it comes to this hero specifically, we've looked at a lot of different game modes, even on the global servers, even over on the test server. We're trying to find a place of exactly where Shalltear is being used. As it seems right now, the only place that we are finding her is PvP. We're not really finding her, and I think this is an old formation. That's why we're at 3%. But it seems like PvP is the place where Shalltear is really shining. Now, thinking of the Nightmare Corridor, doesn't seem like she's going to put out a crazy amount of burst, which makes me kind of wonder. I don't think we're going to see a lot of utility there, which means the only place it really could effectively be used would be in the Curse Realm for an extended duration or PvP, and I don't know if it's going to be tied to PvP. Now, the second thing that we also have to remember is when it comes to specifically looking at Ainz and Albedo. So unfortunately, Ainz and Albedo, we haven't seen really any push at all with either of those heroes. We haven't seen a presence in really anywhere, which I'm kind of shocked. I feel like maybe Lilith didn't buff them enough to make a big difference when it comes to the heroes themselves. But right now, Ainz and Albedo, of course, not making a very prevalent really appearance anywhere, even though we have them built, and that's why I've kind of been sitting. So what a lot of people have done, and it's kind of funny, if you look at Reddit or you look at Discord, a lot of players knew that Ainz was getting a rework. They went ahead, they rebuilt Ainz, and now Ainz is going to be the hero that they reset with the engraving reset that is coming. So it's going to be full circle where, hey, we got Ainz, we reset him, now we built Ainz, now we reset him, because it doesn't seem like, again, he's going to be very prevalent. Still not even from a whale kind of scenario, seeing him with any of the different game modes. We're not seeing him in the Curse Realm. Now, thinking of Nightmare Corridor, this is a place where Ainz will never be present, just for the simple fact, and I definitely need to do this a little bit more, but definitely to the fact of he powers up in the burst damage, and it takes a long time for the burst damage. And even thinking of the Burning Brute, just thinking how these battles really work, when you start thinking of this area specifically, once he gets 2 or 3 ults off, I think it is 3 ults, there's not going to be, again, a big use for him within this game mode either, just because then it takes a long time before he ults again, where you have heroes like Belinda, the awakened version of Belinda, that is just pumping out damage over and over and over and over again. Ainz has to wait to cast that ultimate ability, and if there is only 1 target or even 3 targets, doesn't seem like it's going to make a big use. I use her in the campaign. I actually seen her in the campaign. Let me take a look at that. So as you guys can see, we did push all the way to 66. So we are now into chapter 66, and we're making some more progression. I believe I seen her in here as well. Let me look at some of these, and it's hard because I don't know when these are from. That's one thing that I don't like about these campaign formations. So there is Belinda, there's Liberta. So this is relatively new because there is Zora. So this is definitely there's the Thorn Cheese. In here, look at that, Iran, and then, of course, Aurelia. And then in here, we have Entendre. So not seeing the hero being used here, but we know at least that was a newer formation. There's Liberta with Mahira. There, of course, is the cheese. Guys, the Thorn Cheese is still being used in so many different places. Even thinking of, I mean, look at the difference between here. When we start breaking out formations, this is 58 billion. This is 432, 707 billion. It's kind of insane when you think about how fast we're able to go through the formation and how we can push through the formation as it sits today in comparison to where it was essentially months or even years ago. Because here, he's on level 766, and then down here, we're at 974. So you're talking almost, what, 200 level deficiency between error correction in between the other heroes. I'm sure Thorn Cheese, of course, very prevalent in here, but you can see a lot more of the basic heroes looking at Entendre right there. But when you start thinking of the formations again, it seems like it is a lot easier to make it through campaign formations, but a lot of players don't want to really farm it because I know it is super, super time intensive. Now, one thing to remember is when you look at the campaign formations, even when you go in there and you look at your regular tower formations, those, of course, you can farm at any time. So thinking of the King's Tower, this can be farmed, and I have to farm this like crazy. I believe now we're at 2,500 floors. So I got about 700 floors to make up here. But any of these, and I believe they just extended these you can only farm at specific times. So when you think of tower farming and really going through here and pushing a lot of the towers, now is the time to do it. You want to make sure that you're doing this consistently when the towers are open, because of course they're not open all the time, but you can hop in here. You can just grab a formation based on what you have, let it run in here and let these formations actually go ahead and complete. Yeah, I know a lot of players, including Tommy, said with Shalltear that he went from chapter 50 to 52 with the trial version of the hero, which is, again, is kind of crazy. When we start getting new heroes to AFK Arena, their power is infinitely higher than what we currently have, which is kind of crazy. Alna auto-corrected. What do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean about Alna, the auto-corrected. 40 people in chat, 5 likes in the video. Oh, it happens, Horvath. It's all right. Should I be able to awaken Iran or awaken Baden? Honestly, out of those two, Skyper, yeah, I would do Iran. Now, the reason being, the awakened version of Baden was very prevalent in a lot of different places. As of now, the awakened version of Baden has definitely fallen down the tier list. It seems he is going to continue to be replaced in a lot of different places. That the hero, again, is not going to have the same utility. Iran, we are starting and continuing to see a lot more utility. We are starting to see, again, a lot more of a push with the awakened version of Iran. Very, very prevalent in a lot of different game modes. Does a lot of crowd control. PvP aspect does incredibly well. Treasure Scramble still used in formations. And of course, when you think of something like this, where you're running with an Aethys, guys, Aethys as a tank is broken. If you have not built up Aethys, when it comes to tanking, he is probably one of the biggest tried and true tanks that we have, and does exceptionally well in any game mode, not only survivability wise, but also the crowd control aspect that he has him. It is awesome. And look at that. Zoomer got from 46 to 49, which is awesome. And if it was between Awaken Solus and Awaken Iran, then I'm guessing Iran again. Yes, Skyper. So the reason for that, just like we've seen before, when you look at the Awakened version of Solus, she is a very old Awakened hero at this point. Even thinking of moving forward into 2025, we are now looking at the 4th season or the 4th iteration of the Awakened heroes within AFK Arena. So as the power creep continues to really build, even the Awakened version of Sophia, we're seeing a little bit less. Even looking at the Awakened version of Solus, again, we're starting to see a little bit less. And overall, I feel like that is really going to continue as we keep going through AFK Arena. I put Albedo with Rem and Amelia, Rimuru, and Shuna, and have rarely been beaten. Yeah, that's a really, really good combination. So the big thing is, if you think about that, Albedo with Rem and Amelia, you have Rimuru and you have Shuna. Okay, so break down that systematically. Albedo is going to buff them up. Amelia is going to provide instant crowd control, which gives Rem energy. Rimuru, of course, plays a very strong support hero. Shuna is going to enhance and really support that entire team. That's an incredible dynamic team. When you think of that in its entirety there, Tommy, that is a strong team, because even when you think about breaking those heroes out themselves, Amelia is super broken, guys. If you're unfamiliar with Amelia, with the instant crowd control, which causes energy regeneration, any hero that has issues with survivability, and even a lot of times we see Amelia run with the awakened version of Lucius, because right here, he does have some very, very serious survivability issues, which is the reason why a lot of players do run them together, is because you have the instant crowd control off the bat, giving Lucius the time to get his skills and abilities up, and then of course you can kind of take it from there. Guys, I have a problem with campaign. What's a team for Damia and Liberta, only free to play, having a hard time? So the big thing with Damia is having the artifact. That is the really, really big thing when you look at the Damia. Damia needs the collection needs the +2 My Hero collection. That is what keeps the team alive. It's kind of a cheat with Damia, but Soapy, you have to build out the collection, and I can show you exactly what we're talking about. So we got Maulers in this one. But when we start looking at Damia, it is imperative to have this level or skill 2 collection on there, because this is what causes the cheat death. So she has the ability to actually stop players from dying. And then of course the artifact stops her from dying. So it is kind of counterintuitive to how well it does work in formations. And that's the reason why so many players do kind of build them together, because it does make a very big difference in there. Forget this lame game. It's okay, Burger. Not everyone. I mean, AFK Arena is not for everyone. Trust me. Awaken Chimera or Awaken Thorin. Honestly, out of those two, I would probably still build. Probably build Chimera. Again, just because Chimera is so unique in what she does and how she does work, I would probably go with Chimera before Thorin. And Thorin, there's a lot of places where it doesn't work really as well as intended with Thorin, and a lot of players again have kind of surpassed or kind of quit building Thorin just because of the other heroes that we have available in here, and of course the priority. Like I said, utility wise, Chimera is still huge when it comes to utility overall. Watcher Realms makes me feel a lot cooler. So I played Watcher Realms for a while. Yeah, not a huge fan of Watcher of Realms. That is actually one I think we showcased on this channel with Watcher of Realms. Pretty decent game overall, but the utility and really playing it for an extended amount of time, yeah, that's didn't really get into it. Awaken Leica or Chimera, I would do Leica. So the thing with Leica is it's a little bit different, because Leica has the ability to delay heroes entering into formations. That is a really big part, and I mean old school Zorath, but she is so unique in how she does that and how essentially it works, which is kind of crazy. I quit Companions because you're not in the guild. Yeah, it was a really tough decision, Primo, to actually leave the guild and Companions. It got to the point where we started losing members in the guild, and we need Brutus and Kaz in here. So on Companions, we started losing a couple members. Some members went inactive. Don't really know the fate of what it's going to look like within Companions, if players are going to stay with it, because it almost seems like as very short-lived as the game, or as really the player base is in there. A lot of players and a lot of guilds have already started consolidating, have already started putting everything together. And I believe right now, even on our server number 8, there's 3 larger guilds, Shalltear, T1, and then I believe there is a third one. A lot of the guilds, again, are already starting to see some of the consolidation within Companions. And we're still kind of questioning what exactly the fate of the game, or what it's going to look like longevity-wise when it comes to building it. And of course, like I said, when we went in there, we had our guild of 40, then it went to 38, then it went to 36. A lot of players went inactive. Friends list, same thing, kind of went inactive. I'll still cover, I'll cover the Companions videos. Yes, I will still cover those. And I know a lot of players have also been wondering, again, what exactly is going to come from Companions? What exactly are they going to do with it? It seems like they've talked about, backfilling a lot of the classic content into Companion, or from Companions. That is kind of yet to be seen. I still enjoy Companions. I feel like, though, at a point, it's just the daily grind of what we're doing in Companions. There's not a lot to do. So if you really want to kill a game very fast, and I'm sure a lot of you guys kind of agree with me, if you really want to kill a game pretty fast, it's going to happen if you're not releasing new content, if you do not have things for players to do. I know it really goes back to, the very AFK aspect of the game. But again, if I'm going in there, I'm spending 15, 20 minutes doing my guild stuff, doing whatever event happens to be up at the time, and then there's nothing else to do. It's going to be very, very short-lived, in my opinion. I have time emblems that will summon 2 Awaken Thorin, and Awaken Lucius. They are ETA if you have Leica built, if you have, I would say, looking at having Leica built, having the Awakened version of Athalia built, and probably having Chimera built. And I would build those before. Now, the thing to remember is if you're looking at the Awakened version of Lucius, Lucius requires a very, very high build. I always kind of put that star in there, kind of remember when it comes to that hero specifically, the awakened version of Lucius does require a very high build. If you're not willing to build the hero out to as high as the hero needs to be, you're not going to have the utility, you're not going to have the functionality of Lucius. It does require a high build. And also the awakened version of Thorin, not quite as high of a build, but still does require a pretty big build there. They have added more stuff to companions for sure, at least all for awakened heroes. Yeah, and I think it's just going to be a very slow process. I mean, I even thought at this point that they would go ahead and they would put a little more content or even more awakened heroes, something into the game itself. And of course, bringing 3-dimensional heroes to the game is kind of crazy in general. I mean, that is a lot of content. Those are a lot of heroes to bring to a game at one single time, which is kind of crazy. I still think Awakened Chimera is good to go for early game if you just grab a copy because of how she works with low resources. Yeah, exactly. So what Dio said, very, very true. So once, especially early game, if you can get to the point, and this one I think we need Pharrell and we need Cirrus, but if you get to the point of getting an SP effect very early, it is a game changer. It will honestly be a very, very big game changer. If you get an Awakened hero just simply for the SP effect, regardless of what you're running, early game, it's going to go in there and it is pretty easy. What is the best team for Ascended Belinda? Because she feels kind of underwhelming. So the big thing with Belinda is, Soapy, you really need support. So to really get high-end damage with the Awakened version of Belinda, normally they will run Belinda and then either crowd control or support to keep her alive. Even a lot of players, when you think of running, let's say like an Alna in here with the Awakened version of Belinda, this is going to keep her from dying, and then running some very strong support in here. If you went with like a Jerome, or if you went with even an Ivan, anyone that is going to buff her up, pretty much the whole entire team can be just to buff up that Awakened version of Belinda, and Belinda's damage will go through the roof. The more buffs that she receives, the bigger that essentially you get her to. It's kind of crazy how much damage she can put out. Not only that, how fast she can ult and how much damage, again, burst-wise, that she can put out in a very, very quick method. It's kind of crazy. It's crazy how fast she can shell out damage. And of course, that's why we said when you look at Belinda and when you look at Ainz, Ainz has the big delay with the cast, which I think is the reason why a lot of players, we're not seeing it. So I think all have to be the same class in here. So let's drop these out. We'll drop some warriors in here because we do have Athalia, but overall there's Shalltear. Again, we built her up. We already got her to a 60 engraving, so definitely getting in there. Yeah, Ivan is super important. What collection is important to +2 first? Honestly, John, I would look, so depends what heroes you have. So when you look at, and I'll kind of show you. So when you look at the different formations, let me move to the next one up here. And we'll get Celestials and Hippos. So when you think of the heroes, the collections, when we start looking at the classifications, in here, looking at our warrior classification, it would specifically be Saurus's collection. That would be the one in tanking. I believe we use this one right here, the Spell Bondage, and depends because this one is very important when it comes to regular gameplay. When it comes to PvP, players are using this timeline watch, but you also do have the heroes built, and you have to have the heroes built in their entirety. Even thinking of support, it is Rowan's artifact is the very important one, which is this one. Unless, again, you're going in PvP, which in that point, it's Tassie's Relic. And then the same with the mages is Odin's Relic is super important unless it is survivability like this, which in that case, and you'll even see here, this is Odin's Relic, which is super important. Again, as a damage dealer, this is going to make sense. As a PvP, as really utility-wise, it is going to make sense with Mihiro's Wing. So it really does make a difference on what you're building out or how you're building these heroes out. It does. It does make a really big time. Greetings from Australia. Has Zora seen usage? We're seeing it a little bit, Philip. So we're seeing Zora being used right now in the Cursed Realm, also Treasure Scramble. We're starting to see Zora used a little bit. I feel like in the future, we'll probably see a little bit more utility out of the hero, just for the functionality wise, but still, I wish we'd seen more right now, but honestly, we're not. Why don't you play AFK Journey? So the big thing with Journey, guys, is there are really two big things with AFK Journey. And I played AFK Journey. We beta tested AFK Journey. We did the early release. We even did the initial release. We went to, I believe, like the first chapter or two. AFK Journey, number one, is a massive time sink. If you're familiar with AFK Journey, when new content comes out with AFK Journey in general, there is a lot of time that I was putting into AFK Journey. And I mean progression wise. And of course, when you start thinking of the game itself, we were looking at probably putting, I would say, 2 hours a day into AFK Journey at least, if not more, depending where it was. So of course, AFK Arena suffered a little bit, real life suffered a little bit, but that was the first one with AFK Journey. And the second thing with AFK Journey, guys, is it is very pay to win. If you want to be competitive, when you think of AFK Arena and being competitive within this game, yeah, all good and said, you know, you don't have to put a ton of money in it. When it comes to AFK Journey, if you really do want to be competitive, it is going to be a very big and honestly, a very big price tag. And I realized that really fast, really soon was where, you know, we bought the monthly cards. We picked up a couple things in there. But once it got to the point of starting to make progression, it was very, very expensive if you wanted to stay up with the summons. Even, I mean, we played for months in AFK Journey. It got to the point where we didn't even have the ability to get any of the Celestials or the Hippos built, which is the same thing we're seeing right now over on Companions. Again, very, very expensive to go in there and make a lot of progression, and it was a big time factor. I almost finished Awaken Leica to Ascended. Any suggestion? So, I mean, looking at the heroes themselves, guys, priority number one, of course, when it comes to the heroes, Awaken would be a Thalia. That would be a really strong one. Leica, then I would probably follow it with Chimera. And then from there, you kind of get a little bit, you could look at Gavis, you could look at, you know, Thorin, or even the Awakened version of Iran. There's a couple once you get the primary ones down. Now, a couple of them, like looking at Solus, looking at Sophia, looking at Matria, that are starting to have a lot less utility, that we're not seeing as prevalent in a lot of different game modes. And I feel like going forward, we're going to see them used a lot less. Best pet to get to 18, the Seal. Guys, if you're looking to build or have an absolute broken pet, it is still the Slumbering Seal is the first pet, and really the best one to get to 18, because the Slumbering Seal provides a 6th hero, and the Slumbering Seal does an insane amount of damage. Marius, if you build up the Seal will do a crazy amount of damage, which, again, thinking of Thorin Cheese, thinking of a lot of different scenarios where the Slumbering Seal has been an absolute priority within a bunch of different places. What's going on, Kookie? Looking to another 25% in VOO this year. That is awesome. I'm actually going to be covering my portfolio. I changed it up a little bit, got a little bit more exposure to cryptocurrency. I don't know if any of you are into that, but I will definitely, I want to do the video later tonight, Kookie. And I'll show you exactly what we're putting in there and what the plan is and what the New Year's resolution. So today, guys, is January 5th. So if you're lucky enough and still have your New Year's resolution, if you made them, good for you. This is the day that it says typically or hypothetically that most people have dropped their New Year's resolution is today, which it lasts about 5 days from the New Year's. So again, if you still have your resolution, chances are you're a little bit faster and a little bit above where we are in the crowd. Should I build add stars to Shalltear or build another dimensional first in Companions? So I only built Shalltear to 1 star. The big thing is between 1 star and 2 star, I know you do get, and this was under the advisement of the guild that we're in, is getting Shalltear up to that 1 star, which of course we don't really need the 1 star in there, but getting that first point of the ability being unlocked. Then I focused on Albedo. Now, Albedo is another one, Tickle Me, where if you're building out Albedo, you have to have the plus 30 signature item. If you're not getting that plus 30 signature item on Albedo and Companions, you can build out Shalltear the whole way, and most players have avoided and are not building out Ainz at all in Companions. Not really worth it. In the upcoming engraving, I'm definitely choosing Isabella. I did engrave her to 60. Haven't used her in like 3 years. Yeah, absolutely. I would reset Isabella. That would be a good one to do. What's going on, Bobo? Thanks for all the guides, man. I've been using your guides and tips, especially Liberta after I built them. Yeah, 200 tower floors. That is awesome, Soapy. Yeah, it's crazy. And a lot of the guides, because I believe there was a guide creator in here, Shudi, Shodee, Shudi, makes some amazing guides. I've covered some of those guides. Same with Rakude and a couple other players. The visual guides, guys, I do not do visual guides. I haven't done visual guides in years. I really rely on a lot of the content that they put out on Reddit and Discord when it comes to the visual guides, the AFK guys as well. It is really, really cool to see the guides that are coming out of a bunch of different places. Let me go ahead and set this up so we can have a conversation. We can run through a couple more. You know what? Let me do error correction. I'm going to go with the first one in here. Usually I don't, and I'm going to let this one run. I'm loving the guides. Have you thought about doing a guide explaining how pets work? What are the ones to go on using different game modes? So it's kind of hard with the guides, which I know for a long time, there were pet guides. I know there were beast guides that were coming up, and I don't believe they're making, I think it was Zero that was making the beast guides. Not really using the beast guides anymore. There are some older guides that explain probably 90% of pets if you look through the guide section, other than the couple new ones, exactly how they're worked. And game modes, it's hard because there are so many different game modes on where the beasts are being used. Because when you think about it in its entirety, you know, we have like 7 different game modes now in AFK Arena. So a lot of different places and a lot of different places they're being used, which is kind of crazy. I'm a newbie. Should I level up? Rendell is the main character to complete the company. Randy would be kind of tough if you're going with that hero as a damage dealer. Sub support will work. The reason for Rendell and why he does so incredibly well is that you do have to build him up. When you build him up, it's going to be hard as a carry hero to go in there to really make that hero push and really make it the primary one. Even thinking of a majority of the game modes does kind of play a support role in there, and I'm wondering if Thorin's going to get this done, guys. Almost got it done. Hi, Hippo, will you analyze the Awaken and Stargazing Priority Guide that AFK? I can break it down. I believe I've seen that one. I know over the holidays and everything, but I think they did the Awaken and the Stargazer Priority. Yeah, the AFK guys, I believe I did that. I bookmark a majority of them. Do you think we're going to get a dim tower this year? That, at this point, guys, it is really rough because the Dimensional Tower they talked about 2 years ago, which we've still never seen the Dimensional Tower right now, Papa, but it was 2 years ago that it was kind of mentioned when we had talked about it. And it seems like at this point, there hasn't been another word about it, which is kind of crazy. I would reset Nyla E60, 0 use from her. So Nyla is still being used, even being used right now in the Nightmare Corridor, or excuse me, the Cursed Realm. I believe Nyla is still being used right now. Let me get through this one, but I'm almost positive, if I remember, Usa, that Nyla is being used right now as the damage dealer in the Cursed Realm. I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon, but again, I think she's being used right now. And there we go, guys. Got through another campaign stage in here. So I would wait to probably reset her. Let me see. Because I believe, if I remember correctly, and again, I do have to run this again. I run this when it comes out in the very beginning. So I'm at 10 and 21. Nightmare Corridor, I know we can do way better in there. But I thought she was being used right here, which there she is. So 15.53 billion. The rate there is Nyla. I thought she was being used in this formation, which she is. Being used right there. Again, I thought she was. So if you reset her, you might have to rethink that formation if she's not doing quite the damage you need to because of the reset in general on that hero. I've heard they need 2 full non-franchise dims before they can release a Dimensional Tower. Oh, yeah, it could be something like that. Like I said, it was about 2 years ago that we've seen. Is Zora worth building? I have most useful Awakened heroes. So building her or Thorn or holding my cards. So again, we're starting to see, so when you start looking at game modes, it seems like Zora is starting to find a place within AFK Arena. We've actually seen her used, and I believe in a couple different formations in here. So right there, we have, again, the Awakened version of Baden. In here, we have Iran, and of course, Misha is in there as well. And I thought she was in one of these formations right there. The Zora is being used in here, and I know Treasure Scramble 100% that she is being used within the Treasure Scramble itself. So again, we're starting to see a lot of other places she's being used. And of course, when it comes to the Celestial Tower, of course, 100% she's going to be used in there. But right there is Thorin. I thought I had seen her. Maybe it's in the next team. But players were running her in here as well. So again, we're starting to see a little bit of utility. Not as much utility out of Thorin than I thought would be. But overall, we are still seeing them. Shalltear is being used in PvP. That, unfortunately, is the other place that we're really seeing Shalltear. We're not seeing her in the Cursed Realm of the Nightmare Corridor as of today. I don't know if that's going to change in the future, but yeah. And like I had said before, when it comes to building out the heroes, if you're going to get any hero in the entirety, guys, make sure 100% that you get Shalltear and that you get Shalltear in the entirety. Ainz you can get from the Garrison. Albedo you can get from the Garrison. You have to get Shalltear. And look at that, guys. Thank you for all the content you create. Always super helpful, and I love seeing videos from you. Thank you for the super chat. That is absolutely amazing to see. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, guys, I love doing the content. I love doing the guides. But like we were saying with Shalltear, is if you do not get Shalltear, and I'm sure a lot of you in chat can really attest to this when it comes to Rimuru, when it comes to Shuna, if you do not buy Shalltear, it is going to be roughly 5 to 6 months before it comes in the Dimensional Exchange. So if you don't get the hero, and then of course the hero goes meta, we see her in formations, you don't have her, you don't have access to her, you are going to have to wait 5 to 6 months. That's exactly with Shuna and Rimuru that a lot of players were super upset, super peed that they didn't get these heroes when they were available for free because you had to wait 5 or 6 months before they were released in the Garrison to have the ability to pick them up, guys. That's why I said when it comes to this exchange particularly, get Shalltear and make sure you get the hero. If you're free to play, get Shalltear. If you have any heroes in here, get Shalltear for free. Ainz you can get from the Garrison. Albedo you can get from the Garrison. Shalltear you are not going to be able to get. And look at that, guys. Dylan, another subscriber, guys. And we are very close to 40,000 subscribers. I think we're at 39,200, 39,300. We are creeping up and very close to the next milestone of 40,000 subscribers to the channel, which is kind of crazy. Can I make a guide about characters with great energy synergy? Yeah, there's actually a couple guides that I want to cover, and I just got to find the time. There's also one that I've seen that has kind of the regular builds that we see within formations. Definitely want to go ahead and I'll cover that. I know there's a couple guides that are out there for companions. It's kind of crazy. Will Hippos be the next awakened hero? So right now, as it sits right now, we did get Zora. Now, of course, this was not an awakened hero that we got. This was a standalone. This was similar to what we seen with like a Gavus and a Eugene. This was not an awakened version of any hero. Is the Hippos going to be next? It could be. Now, AFK Arena has traditionally followed that mentality where usually they'll go, you know, Celestial, then they go Hippo, then it goes Lightbearer, then so on and so forth right down the line. It seems like now they've changed it up quite a bit that I don't know what they're doing. It's hard to say because, again, they used to do it with a frequency. And as of right now, it's kind of changed. And a lot of players were also saying, why doesn't Shalltear have dialogue? When they were going through here, I don't know if they changed it, but I don't think there's anything in here that talks about what is coming next. Charge of the Tavern, I have Shalltear, Summon Time, let's see. See, there's nothing in here that talks about, I heard that if you learn magic to match heroes, you can easily, what a pain, don't need that to win. I wonder if Dolly says anything about what is coming next, because that's of course a question that we always get. Dolly's dialogue always kind of alludes to what is coming next. And again, it's kind of interesting because there's Graveborns, there's the Charm, more summons. A lot of players just drop in every day for all the rewards, running a Nasty Mauler. See, it doesn't say anything about who is coming in. That's what I thought, and that's what a lot of players were saying. We don't know what's coming next, and I don't know if they're going to change it up for 2025, if that's going to change, if anything's going to change. Even my wish list, guys, we did this right back to the only heroes that we have. We can do some summons in here. We still got about another 20-25 minutes in here. Want to make some more progression. But Stargazer-wise, you can see 352 cards literally just sitting on 116,000 diamonds. Even within the Temple of Time, we have 540 cards. We are just stockpiling resources for whatever is coming next. What's going on, Mohammed? Hi, Dennis. Hi to you guys as well. Yes, my name is Dennis. I haven't been paying attention to the Tavern. Is new dialogue hinting the new hero? No, there's nothing. That is the first time ever that I remember where Dolly is not hinting towards anything. I only have two options, Reset Nyla or Kelthin. Both of them serve me no purpose. Out of those, I would probably reset Kelthin, and the reason being, again, Nyla was still being used within the Cursed Realm. Kelthin, unfortunately, has been replaced at this point. Let's hop in, let's do some summons, and I'll also go through some more of the chat, hoping we can get a couple of heroes. Maybe we'll get a Celestial and a Hypo in here. The next hero will be Mira. That was the rumor. So if you guys remember in the content we just went through, the hero in there, Mira, was in, it really looked like a Graveborn hero. So a lot of players were saying the next hero to be released was going to be Mira, and it's going to almost be like another version or an evil version of Isabella is what a lot of players kind of compared it to, that she has, you know, her regular look, and then she does transform into the Graveborn hero, or they might just keep her the Graveborn hero. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but Mira could be the next one that we do see within AFK Arena. And again, that would be pretty interesting to see if it is Mira. Just downloaded this today, and I'm at 189 power. Messed up and got Ainz and no Shalltear. Yeah, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. You should be able to still get Shalltear through the next like 50 days or around there. You should be able to. Will the Hypo be the next Awaken? Might be. I don't know. Technically, Zora's Awaken. Yeah, if you really want to draw the line that far to the conclusion of it being the Awaken Audrey Morel, it's kind of the first one. She's decent. Zora is decent. We'll have to see. Awaken version of, yeah, not combined. The uncombined version. Hopefully we can get an Awaken hero in here, guys. That would be awesome to see. There's a copy of Granite. I don't even know the last time we did polls on here where it was actually a decent or an Awaken hero. Months, maybe years since we've actually seen them. We're also grinding out when it comes to, of course, the Mystic Starzone. This is a place still, guys, since we have started everything through this Mystic Starzone, and I probably have to take another place in here. Since we have started the Mystic Starzone, I have never ever gotten this hero choice chest. Never, through all of the accounts, and even back then we were running multiple accounts. We have never seen the chest. We have never seen this hero choice test. I'm hoping this is going to be the time, but again, we've been hoping time and time again that we would hopefully get a chest, and unfortunately it has never worked out, and we haven't been able to get the chest. Maybe today is going to be the day when we can actually get the chest, when we get the rewards out of here. And as you can see, guys, this place, just hop in here, attack whatever you can. Even looking at my guild itself in here, not a lot of players super active. When we start looking, I believe we have around 10 players, maybe even more, that are completely inactive in the Starzone. So unfortunately, we are in last place because, again, activity really goes to show the more you put into it, really the best it's going to. Pluto, what's going on? Good seeing you. Very good. Family is doing well. We're just de-Christmasing the house today, so we're taking down the Christmas tree, putting everything away. It is definitely it. The next Celestial is Dreef. That's it. It is going to be, you dreamt it. It is going to be Dreef. That would be awesome, guys. You talk about a hero that everybody would kind of go ballistic for when you get down through all of these heroes. If they did an Awakened version of Dreef and made him like a multiple class, multiple everything, he would be awesome as an Awakened version that kind of morphed into battle. I think they could do a ton of crazy things. Awaken Lucretia, please. Yeah, I know a lot of players have kind of talked about getting an Awakened version of Lucy. I don't know if they would do an Awakened version of Lucy and not do the counterpart. So if you guys remember, Lucy actually came with Zafriel. If they awaken one part, I feel like they would do two together, which would be pretty cool. Is it worth building Albedo beyond Mythic on Companions? No, it is not, Drink. So the big thing that a lot of players have said when it comes to Albedo specifically, both here and Companions, you have to have the plus 30 signature item on Companions at Mythic. No reason to go any higher than that. I'm kind of confused on how they would do Mira. Probably like in Hero Wars, the name Celestial, where the ultimate changes her from a demon. Yeah, they could. And honestly, they could just release similar to what we seen right here with Shalltear, is they could release Mira just as the Graveborn looking Mira. They might not even do anything that changes, anything that's kind of that changes. It might just be Mira as the Graveborn or as the evil, the dark version, whatever you want to call it. It might just be that version and nothing else, and that's it. What's going on? Tushar is here as well. Long time no see. How have you been, brother? So is Zora worth pulling? Zora, if you want to be competitive, yes, would be worth pulling. So again, we're seeing Zora right now in the Cursed Realm. We are seeing Zora in the Treasure Scramble. If you don't have the hero, again, she's putting out a considerable amount of damage, but if you don't have the hero, you're going to have to replace this hero with another hero that might not be as competitive or might not do as much damage as what we're seeing Zora do. That is the reason why a lot of players are in here and building out Zora. Mystic Starzone fell off. Yes, Tommy, it definitely fell off quite a bit. And again, as you're building a lot of the Awakened heroes, not a huge push in there for the chest. They needed to update the chest, and I'm still a little sad about how they did with the chest. They really did it wrong, guys. They could have just made one combined chest that would stay one and the same. They unfortunately did not. They went through and made two different chests, which again is kind of a pain in the butt for a lot of heroes or a lot of players, including myself. I think they could have done it a lot different. Notice something weird. The event boss has been defeated. Supposedly the campaign power should have dropped off, but it remained the same, at least for me. Yeah, anytime they do something like that, sometimes it comes out weird and it doesn't work really as intended. Here we get some Stargazer scrolls, so we're definitely just farming this up every day. And then of course, the Magician's Hat is up. In here, 100%, if you do not have Lava Tune built, this is the place out of the gift card that you need to get a copy of Lava Tune, above the resources, above the beast, above everything else, guys. If you do not have Lava Tune built, he is such a solid meta hero. If you don't have him up to Ascended with 1 star for the engraving, get the copy of Lava Tune out of here. You will thank me later because Lava Tune is super broken in a ton of different places. This game reminds me of X Heroes. Quite a beaten. I always got lucky with my militia since I always get all the rewards and usually top 3. So the last couple times we were top 1. What's going on, JC Gamer? Yeah, last couple times we were top 1. Again, I feel like a lot of whales when it comes to the Mystic Starzone, it doesn't matter. They really don't want to compete. They already have all the heroes built. It really doesn't make a big difference when they're going in there and making progression in the game mode because they already have everything. It seems like it is. Does the new chest continue off the old shards? No, it does not. That again is the sticking point for a lot of different players. So the new chest is a different chest. It is not the beta season chest. It is the regular season chest. So with the update, you can't combine the two chests. Now, of course, you can get shards of different heroes, but even thinking here, and this again is something that I feel they really did wrong, is I can go in here and I can get, let's say, my 15 shards of the Awakened version of Chimera. With my next 15 chests out of the updated Starzone, I would have to use 15 of those chests to finish out the fragment pieces that I have of Chimera because there's no other way to get it. And even here, what's the point? So I can get 15 shards of Chimera. Now, if I don't use the new chest to actually build out and finish out the Awakened version of Chimera, I'm not going to have any other way, period, to build her out short of the new chest that we got, which again, I don't like how they did that. I think it's pretty shady is the way that I put it. But I do not like how they did that to actually do that. Apple bricking their old phones, turning me off to this. Oh, they're Apple bricking the phones. I'm itching for the engraving reset. I have Lucretia at E80. That is where a lot of players, I know Lucy was one, Ainz was another one that a lot of players have been really resetting. And look at that. I have Lucy at E100. Yes, such an absolute waste. Someone has the Awaken, Athalia, Chimera, Baden, Antandra, and Laika. Honestly, so you have Athalia, which is good. You have Laika, you have Chimera. You could go in there and build Iran. Iran would probably be the next one, or Lucius. Either one of those would both be pretty good. Also saw the producer letter, which is bad. They need to talk about Draconic. Yes, I feel like that is another thing that they have kind of overlooked is when it comes to the Draconic heroes. And again, the Dragon Isle, this is still a big sticking point for so many heroes that I feel like, yes, they haven't addressed how they're going to reduce the cost, how they're going to make it more effective. I feel like they made and gave us a little bit more insignias in a couple different places, but still it's not anywhere near enough of what we need to go ahead and build this up and continue getting out these heroes. And look, D2 showing up. What is going on, buddy? Let's keep crushing it. We will be in 2025. And over on Companions, D2 and I, since they removed the chapter requirement, we are the co-op companions in Companions. It's really cool. Yeah, the Abyssal Expedition is coming up next. We've already talked about it in our guild because, of course, we're a little bit more competitive when it comes to the guild here. So definitely want to go. And this is going to be a copy, guys. We got a copy. Could it be just a single? But we are one copy closer. It is still, guys, this is probably one of the most painstaking processes when it comes to building up these heroes, when it comes to being able to get copies of the heroes. It's insane. It is so crazy. Even here, we have one extra copy. We need 2 more to get her up to the ascended level. Then we need 3 more copies to add 1 star. It's stupid. It is stupid, crazy with how hard it is. Bro, thinking he was cool, talking like a bum. What collaboration do I want to see in the future? So for this game specifically, collaboration-wise, guys, I leave that to you, Aziz, because I am not familiar. I don't watch anime. I don't watch a lot. Even thinking of the ones we've had in the future, you know, the one time I got turned into a slime, I went back and watched that whole anime. But looking at Overlord, I have not watched the Overlord anime. I watched a little bit of it, just kind of clips. But thinking of Joker with Persona 5, thinking of a lot of these heroes, guys, I don't watch anime. That's why when a lot of players talk about what is coming, what they want to see, most of the time at that point, my old self will do research to figure out exactly what you guys are talking about, because I do not watch any anime. And it also looks like, from AFK Arena's perspective, most of the heroes they do and most of the crossovers come from anime overall, which is kind of crazy. Just got Gwen to 1 star, doing nothing in the Treasure Scramble and Nightmare Quarter. Yeah, Gwen was one that was super hard to get. Cyberpunk collab. Now, I know what Cyberpunk is. I've seen that one. I also built her at 560 to 1 star. Yeah, it's so expensive. What's going on? Yato Gaming, thank you for joining us. Super far behind in Companions. Yeah, so what I do, and I don't like the fact that with Companions, that it stops. And look at that, love anime forever. Anime had heard the call. Yeah, like I said, a lot of these animes that we have, even Overlord, not super familiar with the anime in general or overall. I usually watch it or do research at that point to see it. So when you think of the animes and when you start thinking of everything that we have in there, that's where, again, I rely on a lot of you guys and even a lot of lore. A lot of people are super in-depth and super love anime forever, and know all of the backstories of the heroes and the characters, and, you know, where Ainz was in charge of Albedo and Shalltear and all of this stuff, which is kind of crazy. I've awakened Shamira, Athalia, Belinda, Lycan, Sophia. I would either do Iran at that point, or I would do Lucius. Now, Lucius does, again, require a very big build-out. You can go Awaken Baden. So the Awaken Baden, that's one that I would probably, even at this point, the Awakened version of Baden, yeah, I would Merc. I would Merc a lot sooner than I would go ahead and build him, just because, again, he's such an older generational hero. We already have him at a 35. I didn't even know Baden was at a 35, but we do have him built up a little bit higher, but very cool. We're in terms of building, yeah, Lan is silly, guys. When it comes to these heroes, they need cheaper packs if you're going to buy it. They need more access to getting some more of the insignias. They need to do a lot, because even thinking here, guys, Skyline is a pipe dream. Even by the time that I got the ability or even any inclination to build Skyline, the hero's probably not going to be used at all, because, of course, damage dealing heroes do have a tendency to be replaced a lot faster than other ones. So even here is I go ahead and I Merc. I borrow copies of Skyline because that's really all I can do. So looking at Matt, looking at a couple of heroes that do have Skyline, this is Mesmer, the Sour Haze already lent him out. But overall, getting copies of Skyline is going to be impossible. And honestly, there's not going to be any point that I'm going to build Skyland just because of the sheer cost of the hero itself. It's not going to work. I think dragons come with time. It's just like Awaken came out or collections. It has to get easier, but I really worry because not only the kind of have to get easier with those is they're not giving us the ability to build the current heroes, and they're not giving us the ability to build the future heroes, which again, when you think again of the sheer cost of those, it's kind of crazy because of the cost and the inability to build them up at all. And of course, I know Don did kind of address the utility of the heroes themselves, where even if you have, you know, a lower built hero like Lan, I'm not seeing a lot of utility out of the heroes themselves, which again is a little bit disappointing. But even if you have them at Mythic with a plus 40 signature item like I do, not seeing a lot of utility out of Lan really at all. Not working at a lower level of the game mode, which again is kind of crazy. I think about building Awakened Thorin, but I don't know. You definitely could do Thorin. Again, utility-wise, Thorin is a little bit higher, or excuse me, a little bit lower than Iran. You could definitely work on that. Yeah, I wish I saved the Hilduin chest. Everybody's so degrading. I'm not sure what's going on with burgers, but we can go ahead and we can put the user in timeout. There we go. So that's pretty funny. We have the ability to put the player in timeout. So it's kind of weird. Hope the next Hippo is Awaken, a combine of Lucretia and Zap. That would be crazy. That would be very, very cool to see if we had some. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, guys, if there's anything, I know not D2. If you remember, Javid was always the mediator, but I've seen a couple things come in there. So there, we can put them in timeout, which is easy. I have a question. Are we supposed to make our normal faction heroes all the way to 5 stars? Or one just like that? So when it comes to the regular heroes, guys, get them to 1 star. 1 star is really all that you need in the entirety. There is no reason, as it sits today, to build the heroes up to 5 stars. There's no reason. There's not really any benefit when you start building out or adding more to even the heroes. There's not a huge benefit to building them up. I would build them up to 1 star. I would swap them to other heroes. And the big reason, Ariel, for that one is you'll need a lot more heroes when it comes to the tower progression. You're going to need a lot of copies of other heroes. I would absolutely push them out. I never pushed the campaign, let auto battle overnight. Went from 53 to 56. Yeah, it's very, very easy. See you later, Tommy. Yeah, they got timed out, or if you're waving by to them. Yeah, like I said, if there's anything in there, yep. Out of AFK Arena Companions Journey, Draconics are the most expensive. Yes, absolutely, D2. They are just off the chart cost. And if you don't have them built to be competitive in a lot of different game modes, it's not going to be there because you don't have it. Yeah, I know. If you're not playing AFK Arena, I know a lot of players come in here and love to chat. But when it starts getting hostile, yeah, there's no reason for it at all. We can just remove them. It's a lot easier than it used to be actually with YouTube to go ahead and move players out of there. I'm back to AFK Arena after months. It's hard, Mystical. It's a lot of a catch up. And look at that. Showlee TN, thank you for subbing to the channel. That is already 2 subscribers that we have seen today. We got a couple more members in here. And of course, we did get that big super chat a little bit earlier. So thank you for subbing to the channel, guys. We are creeping up on 40,000 subscribers. That's right. It is the big 4-0 on this channel. Incredible. It has been absolutely incredible over the last couple years. And still, I mean, AFK Arena, love it or hate it, it's still going pretty strong. There are still a lot of players that play AFK Arena. Even thinking of, income generation for Lilith, everything of that set aside, the game still does have a lot of popularity. I feel like there's a lot of things that they could really adjust in this game to really make it better. And really, there are a lot of things that they could change with this to make this game really stand out and really be exceptional again. I don't know if they're taking my feedback because I give it to them all the time. I'm sure they're probably tired of my feedback, but yeah, absolutely. What's a good formation for Shalltear? So a lot of players are running Shalltear with Ulna to keep Shalltear alive, even with the cheat deaths in there. We've seen that quite a bit that they've been running together. And a lot of players have also been running Shalltear with Albedo for the boost, which is still pretty good. I see you copy the formation for the campaign with the same collections as well. Does it mess you up in the TS collections? Yes, actually, Florin. So one of the biggest pet peeves that players have is every single time you copy formations, it screws up everything. So question, does it mess up the treasure scramble collections? 1000% it does. And this is something that Lilith has been, God, gripping with for months at this point. Florin, is when you come in here, when we do some of our resets, it screws with all of the collections in every single game mode. It messes it up. So thinking about Treasure Scramble, which is just running on auto. So you don't go in there, you don't battle. It is going in there, and Treasure Scramble is running on auto. So when we go through here, you can see if we're not following the player, some of these formations are hidden. But when I go in here and I actually copy a formation in here, it does screw up everything else, which again, a lot of players absolutely do hate. There we go. So this one, we can go ahead and use this. Now, one thing you'll notice, use artifacts continuously or configuration simultaneously. Then we go in here and you'll notice that a lot of the formations are copied, which is good. A lot of them work, but also a lot of these, when I usually go through here, will be empty. It really, so we're changing all of the collections on all of the heroes here. And this, of course, is Skyland. Unfortunately, we don't have Skyland in here. I'm going to have to see if we can get that borrowed copy. But a lot of times when we go in here, these are empty or they need to be adjusted to the artifacts that we need to be using within the formations. And I think I've gotten to the point where collections, I'm pretty good on collections. But then you go over to the Treasure Scramble, and I want to show you guys. So then we hop over here. We're at our 3%, which again, I haven't been paying attention to it. But when we start going in here and looking at our formations, it is going to mess up all of the formations and all of these on here, depending on what you have. And it does the exact same thing like this with the Nightmare Corridor. It does mess around with your formations. It messes around with the collections that you have on different heroes or different game modes. And this, again, is something that they're really working on doing and working on changing. And I feel like they need to do something. It's kind of crazy on how they work, how they do work. Yeah, copying the formations, it screws it up everywhere, and it has screwed it up everywhere. And they have talked about it and tried to adjust it for quite a bit of time. You can just turn off changing of the collections and artifact while in the campaign. Yeah, we can turn it off in here when we do the copying of the formations. Even here, guys, I usually copy a formation that is pretty close to where I'm at. Yeah, we can use the artifact configuration. But again, here it could throw off a lot of the artifacts that we're not getting them equipped because we're copying a formation. And if by chance the artifact or the collection was swapped to another hero, then we're not going to have it in this formation unless we go through and manually add all of these back into formations. And again, it seems like they need to run the collections or the assignments on the collections not by what the hero is wearing, but by what game mode essentially you're in. I mean, look at this. Because we didn't copy the collection soul, it left all of these 3 heroes without a collection. And if we went down here, and I forget exactly who we copied in here, but then when I go to this specific one, they're all wearing the collections, but because we didn't copy, we don't have the ability to use them. It's kind of crazy. See you later. Have a good day, guys. We're almost there. Let me make sure I do the gifting and the membership. I don't want to forget this. So again, it is kind of a pain because if I go in here and I copy Franny, and some of these heroes are not used essentially within the other game modes, or if they are in the other game modes, it is going to change the artifacts or the collections that they have equipped. Because even looking now on this formation, it auto-equips all of those artifacts, which could change for all of the other game modes in their entirety, which again, kind of stinks on how they did build this. So let me do the gifting of the membership, guys. Again, before I forget, we've been doing this for years at this point. I love doing the gifting of the membership every single time. Seeing the little hippos right next to people's name, it comes up in green. It's really cool to see with those comments, guys. And for the new year, we are doing 5 gifting of the memberships. I want to do a couple more as we encroach on those 40,000 subscribers. I know a lot of players have said, well, it avoided me this time again. But there we go. So we got Slippery Fist, Meldo, Taylor, Carol, and Commander CMDR, and Soul throws out a sad face because unfortunately it didn't pop up for him. But again, we do this every single time we do the stream, guys. We gift the memberships I love doing it. It's really cool to see with Tommy and all the other ones, D2, that support the channel and have for a multitude of years. It is awesome to see. And Tommy as well. There we go. So again, I love doing the gifting and the memberships. We're going to do something big with the gifting when it comes to our 40,000 subscribers. It'd be pretty cool. But you can even see, guys, Zora is being used in formations as well. Starting to see some utility within campaign formations, starting to see it in the Treasure Scramble, also starting to see it in the Nightmare Corridor. I feel like as we progress through AFK Arena, we're going to start seeing more and more utility out of Zora. And again, we're starting to see it a little bit, maybe not as much as players would like, but we're starting to see it. And again, when it comes to Shalltear, it is going to be the exact same. It might be a little bit of a time before we see, you know, the hero having a ton of utility or being used in a lot of different game modes. Only time will tell exactly what does come from that and where the hero is really built. But like I said, when it comes to free to play, when it comes to buying it, when it comes to the new hero Shalltear, get the hero. I cannot stress it enough how many players had to wait for the exchange or had to wait an infinite amount of time before they had the ability to actually swap out and get the hero they wanted. When it came to Rimuru and when it came to Shuna, that's the reason why we say go ahead and get it. I can't get Awakened Athalia to kill the Nightmare Corridor boss. Any tips? Depends. Number one, with Athalia, you have to have her built out. The higher you build the damage dealer, so when we think of Athalia, the higher that you build her out, the stronger she is going to be, the more damage she is going to do, and the more really amplification you're going to have with the hero. When it comes to damage heroes, guys, you have to have them built out, and you have to have them built out high. If that's not working, you can definitely go in there and go ahead and if you build out the support heroes would be the other thing, where if you're not getting quite the damage you need to out of Athalia, it could be because the support heroes aren't built up high enough to actually go ahead and provide her the damage boost that she needs to kill out that boss. Is it possible in the planned event to invite Flora and then exchange her in the carriage section if we have more copies? You can, but you have to swap 3 to 1. So Mawa, that's the big thing, is the heroes for the swap are 2 to 1 or 3 to 1, depending. And look at that. Matria got it done. Yeah, you could get a copy of Flora, then you would exchange, but you can't exchange 1 to 1. That is the big thing to remember. And I can go ahead. I'm going to let this auto in a little bit. I'll hop out of here before we're done, and I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. So when it comes to the actual heroes themselves, you have to exchange. If it was 1 to 1, that would be amazing. But when you look at the rickety card, so having Flora built up in the entirety, which I already have 2 copies of Flora right here. If we're looking for, let's say, a copy of right here, if we're looking for a copy of Nox, it is a 3 to 1 exchange. So if you invite Flora and get that single copy, you might as well just exchange her or get the hero you want, because out of the exchange or the flower event, you could go ahead and just, or the Covenant invite, I think is what it's called. You could go ahead and just get the 1 copy of Nox versus trying to do the exchange with Flora, because again, it is a 3 to 1 exchange in there, which isn't worth it. And then of course, you can also do this with the Awakened Heroes if you guys were unfamiliar, and they are a 3 to 1 with Awakened Heroes. I pulled that extra copy of Entendre, but again, this is a 3 to 1 swap for the Awakened Heroes as well. But you do have to have the heroes at 5 stars and then get another copy of the Awakened Hero to actually swap it. But again, it is a 3 to 1 swap, which really isn't worth it, because of course, out of that game mode that's coming, you could just go ahead and get the hero that you want. Who is the must build hero right now? Must build, honestly, in my opinion, if you're talking about simplified heroes, is Randall. This is a hero nemesis that is very broken in a lot of different game modes. Works incredibly well within campaign formations. Pretty much there is not a game mode this hero isn't being used. Even thinking utility, you know, some of the very, very high is Randy right there. And then of course, the one that we just got the skin on, Jerome, is another hero that has an incredible amount of utility when you think of support, when you think of either of these heroes. And of course, you can kind of put them in any formation you want, and they will do very well in the formation. Like I said, regardless of where you put them, the hero is going to perform very well, because that is how the hero is built, and really the utility of the hero does work very well within those formations. So, all right, guys, so that is going to do it for today's live stream. This is number one, our first live stream of 2025. We do it every week. We do 4 live streams a month, if not a little bit more, depending on what time allows. But thank you guys for joining me for live stream today. It is absolutely phenomenal that we're coming up on 40,000 subscribers. AFK Arena continue going strong. And of course, April is going to be the 6th anniversary, the 6th year of AFK Arena. We're going to have to see exactly what Awakened heroes are going to be brought this year. And hopefully it's going to be some good ones. Hopefully it's going to be some ones that we're really looking for. I would love to see Rowan. I would love to see Isabella. There are a couple that I would absolutely love to see an Awakened version of. Instead of them just doing the new versions, I would love them to go ahead and do the Awakened version. And thank you for the stream. Have a great day. You too as well, D2. I'm going to hop over to Companions a little later today, get some of that done, get it all caught up, making sure we're being very competitive. Happy New Year to you guys. Be safe. I got to go out, got to do some more shopping. We already de-Christmas the house again, which is pretty cool. So have a good day. A lot more content that's coming. And as always, thank you guys for watching.